Are you early on the process of investing into a franchise? If yes, you may be spending some time going through the item 19 of that franchise disclosure document. So how much should you rely on the item 19 earnings and how much weight that item has in your final decision? My name is Joe Salsa and I'm a partner here at Friendship Consultants, where we help individuals look for, vet, and eventually invest into purpose-driven franchises. Today, we're going to talk about the item 19 earnings and how much of that should really weigh into your final decision. So what is the item 19? Well, the item 19 is the financial performance representation of that franchise disclosure document. Every franchise disclosure document must have 23 items, and the item 19 is the only place where franchisors can make financial and earning claims of existing franchisees. Not all franchisors have a item 19 because they're not obligated or required by law to have an item 19, but the ones that do really helps you with transparency and you can better understand the performance of existing locations. Now, if the franchisor, it's a very, very young franchisor, like an emerging brand with only a handful of locations, it'll be harder for them to have an item 19 versus a franchisor that's been doing this for 5, 10, 20 more years. Those franchises, they usually will have a item 19 and they can actually pick and choose what representations they're going to put in the item 19. Usually they can put profit levels, expenses, gross margins, any other financial earnings representation that they may choose for. If a franchisor it's not listing numbers in the item 19, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just may show that they are very young, like an emerging brand. So why is the item 19 so valuable? Well, if you're looking to invest into a franchise, one of the reasons why is because you want to have enough income from that franchise. And looking at the item 19, you will be able to see the earnings of existing franchisees and have a pretty good idea what your potential earnings are. Also, if the franchisee allow you to see locations per region, so you want to make sure that the units in your market, if there are any already, are doing well and how much they're doing. And you also want to discard the two extremes. You may see the top performers and the bottom performers. And as a rule, I tell our candidates to go conservative. And even though if you become a top performer, eventually you should aim all your planning based on a median income looking at the item 19. The biggest mistake candidates make, and I've seen this time over time, it's basing their decision on the item 19. When looking into item 19, you see top performers. There's usually a trend of why those units are top performers. And what we advise our candidates here at Friendship is that when you get the chance to do your validation calls, you set a time, just call top performers and ask the same questions, and then you compare them to when you talk to bottom performers, and you're gonna see that some skills are usually standing out. And those are usually around management, being a good leader, and really be vested into that business. So don't make the mistake of making a decision primarily based on the earnings that you see in the item 19, because that could be very deceiving. But make sure that throughout the entire process, you are accounting for things that are not part of the item 19, such as the skill level or the best skills that the top performers have in that system. What matters just as much than analyzing the item 19? One other item that you want to pay attention to is the item 20, and make sure that there are not a lot of turnover. So even if the item 19 looks very good and the earnings claims are great, but when you look at the item 19, you see a lot of people leaving that franchise, that's a big red flag right there. If the earnings are so great, then why are a lot of people leaving that franchise? Also, validation calls, as we talk in some of our videos here in our channel, these are maybe just more important than analyzing the item 19, because this is the chance you get to talk with existing franchisees, people that are doing this day in and day out, and you can really pick their brain and compare your notes. How about your role and the skills that you need to run that franchise? The item 19 really show you the possibilities of earnings, but it doesn't really tell you anything about how you can get there, what kind of skills you need to exceed in that franchise. Do you have those skills? If you don't, are those skills that you can get trained and eventually master at? This is maybe even more important than analyzing the item 19 as well. And lastly, territories. You may ended up seeing a franchise that you love, item 19 is looking great, but is the territory that you're planning to open a good territory for that franchise? If you cannot answer that question, if the franchisor is not helping you answer that question, that's also a major red flag that you may need to look very deep into before you make a commitment. And that's it for today. And remember, here at Friendship Consultants, all we do is to help candidates look for research and eventually invest into purpose-driven franchises. We can help you throughout the entire process at zero cost. Our candidates don't have to pay us a dime. So if you want to learn more, please drop me an email, joe@friendshipconsultants.com, or you can visit our webpage, friendshipconsultants.com. See you next time.